Okay, year 11. So someone's requested I talk about how you're going to answer the poetry question in your literature exam. Particularly, I've been asked to revise Art Wars with you. Now, this is a fantastic way of writing about poetry, and here are the three main things you have to remember. Refer to them in this order in the exam. Have at least one paragraph for each of these items, and make sure you mention all of them, because if you mention all of them, then you are satisfying all of the criteria for the highest and top band answers. So I want to make this really, really brief, because I want you to be able to make practical use of it and to adapt it for yourself. About what is that poem about? What is the subject matter? Okay, so what actually goes on? If we have an example, all right, Out of the Blue by Simon Armitage is about one man who's trapped in the World Trade Center at 9/11 and his feelings and thoughts about that. Repeated ideas. What are the repeated ideas throughout that poem? Now, the idea in Out of the Blue by Armitage again is the idea that this man is trapped and he's asking questions of people. Do you see me? Can you see me? When will you come? The idea of these repeated questions tells us about his state of mind. He's frightened, he's confused. The tone, the mood or the atmosphere of the poem. What is the tone of that poem? Now, it's a very strange poem, Out of the Blue, in that in some cases it's quite serene. We have these gentle images of turning and twirling, when in fact what we've got is a horrific event taking place. There are several things to do with that, I think. You can be very carefully pick out those different tones. W. Individual words. Words that jump out at the reader for a specific reason. Out of the Blue, it is appalling for me. The poem's not appalling, but that is the word that jumps out. Appalling. Appalling that others like me. The idea that something appalls is very, very emotive. It's a very strong synonym. It's the idea that it is so horrible, it's frightening, it's just dreadful, it's appalling. Very, very emotive word. Alliteration. Is there a repeated use of one letter for a certain meaning? There are certainly repeated T's, twirling, turning in this poem. You have to decide why that might be the case. Why has the poet, used those? Rhyme and rhythm. Write about the rhyme and rhythm in a poem, or if there isn't much or isn't any, write about that. Sometimes poets deliberately have no rhyme or rhythm. However, they very often do, and there is an effect of that. If you think about Charge of the Light Brigade, to use a different poem, the rhythm of that is meant to mimic a running horse. Okay? Who were they to question why? Theirs was not to question why. Theirs was but to do or die. Sorry, Tennyson, I misquoted you there. Very important. So the idea of galloping horses is evoked because that's what happens in the poem. Finally, structure. Now, traditionally, this is the most difficult one to talk about and write about. Structure. Literally, how is it put together? How is it structured? How is it laid out on the page? Are there regular stanzas or are they irregular? Is there one line that stands out because it's been actually placed slightly differently from another one? You can link these together, and here's the tricky bit. If there is a different tone in the poem, is that reflected in the structure? For example, is there one tone at the beginning and another at the end? And if so, what is the effect of that? So just to reiterate, about, repeated ideas, tone, individual words, alliteration, rhyme and rhythm, and then structure. Whatever question they ask, frame your answer around these things and you can't go wrong. You'll do very well. Okay? Thank you.